Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachanam pangam langyati girim. Yat kripa tamam vande. Shri Guru Dinata Paramanandam Madhavam. Hare Krishna, thank you once again for joining. So we are discussing the 9th chapter in the 4th canto. Dhruva returns home. And we were at verse 11. So the verse 11 is, so this part of the chapter is essentially prayers by Dhruva Maharaj. So I'm mentioning these 12 verses are sometimes called the 12 Adityas because they are enlightening. They are coming from a devotee at the maturity of his bhakti, and they're coming as a direct result of the empowerment of the Lord. So remember that the Lord had touched Dhruva's forehead with his conch. And with that, the conclusions of all the Vedas manifested within him. So not only Dhruva at this point is perfect in his devotion, perfect also in his knowledge. So he had started off glorifying the position of the Lord. And beginning from verse 10, he glorifies bhakti and bhaktas, especially Vaishnava Sangha. So let's go on to verse 11. Bhakti moho pravatam tvai me prasango Bhuyadananta mahatam amala shayana yenanjasho badanam uruvyasanam bhavabdim neshe bhavat guna katham ritpanamataha. Dhruva Maharaj continued, O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me, so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent. So previous verse, Dhruva had spoken about bhakti. So he had spoken about Katha Shravanena, right? So he had said, Katha Shravanena Bhavajana, essentially listening to your pastimes in the association of your devotees, Bhavajana. So in this verse, Dhruva is expanding on Bhavajana. So he's saying that prasango, that may I have the association of those who are bhaktim pravatam. So bhaktim pravatam is, pravaha means uninterrupted. So who are constantly performing bhakti. Mu bhakti pravatam. So interesting to note that Dhruva is not asking for what he had initially started off doing his austerities. He is not asking for a position higher than Brahma. In Bhakti Subodhaya, it is said that Dhruva states that, my Lord, I left my house for material gains, but having found you, I do not need anything. So do not need anything means that I do not need anything material. Because he is asking, but he is asking for Vaishnav Sangha, he is asking for Katha Shravanena, he is asking for Krishna Katha. So he says that Katha Amrita, the nectar of your pastimes. But these are not material. So these are not material asks. They are spiritual asks. So when Dhruva is praying for this Bhavad Guna Kathamrita, then the Lord might say that you are not asking for liberation, which means that you will continue to live in this material world. So you will continue to suffer in this samsara. Samsara means ocean of suffering. So Dhruva responds saying that Prasanga Mahatma, that in the association of great devotees who are Amal Ashanaya, who are free from all material contamination, then Anjasa. That Anjasa means without any problem, Nesha. I can cross over Bhavabdhim. This Ulbanam. Ulbanam means this terrible Bhavabdhim, the ocean of material existence. So he say, I don't have to ask for it separately. It's a byproduct. That just by associating with devotees, I can easily cross over. Not even a problem, right? He says Anjasa. I don't have to strive for it separately. I don't have to work for it. It will come by itself, which is factual. Later on, we'll see that Dhruva is automatically liberated when the Vishnu Dutas come to receive him. So the focus of his ask, he says, is prasanga, is the association. So the Lord might ask him that what will be this kind of association. So Dhruva says that Pana Bhavat Gunakatha, that in this association, Pan means drink, that I will drink the qualities and pastimes of yourself. Bhavat Guna. Guna means qualities and Katha is Leela. And pastimes which are Amrit, which are eternal. So the result of this, Dhruva says, is Mata. Mata means that I will be fully intoxicated. Mata actually means mad, that I'll become completely mad in it. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad has a very powerful and a very poetic paraphrase of the response to this implicit question by Dhruva in this verse. Not Dhruva, sorry, the implicit question by Lord Vishnu in this verse. So Chakravarti Pad says that raising his hands with pride, Dhruva speaks. What does he say? I will overpower the terrible ocean of material life, full of countless pains by the strength of that association. Let it come before me. Let us see. Nothing is impossible for me. I will be drunk with tasting the nectar of your qualities and pastimes. The qualities of material life, such as rivalry, ignorance, and hatred, cannot make this drunkard suffer. Even death cannot touch the person who has drunk immortal nectar. So essentially, he has paraphrased the verse with a little bit of poetic impact. But the essence that Dhruva is saying is that by performing bhakti in the association of devotees, I will experience the ultimate bliss of happiness. And all this material limitations, material distress, material cycle of birth and death, I don't have to worry about it. It will automatically be taken care of, easily be taken care of. Because by bhakti that is produced from association with devotees, one directly meets the Lord. And then what does one pray for when such a fortunate person meets the Lord? More association with the devotees. So one of the phrases that is often used is that the cause of bhakti is bhakti and the result of bhakti is bhakti. Because when you reach a stage of perfection, then the cause and the effect will be the same. So because Vaishnava Sangha is the cause of bhakti, Vaishnava Sangha is also the execution of bhakti, and Vaishnava Sangha is also the result of bhakti. So Vishwanath says that thus this verse states the opinion of the devotees. So Srila Prabhupada has two very interesting points in this purport. So he says that the purport of the statement by Dhruva Maharaj is that devotional service in the association of devotees is the cause of the development of further devotional service. Right? So devotional service does not change. And Prabhupada is also saying this to encourage us, because we might think that this statement is applicable only to advanced devotees. Prabhupada says no. He gives the example that he often uses to describe the progression of bhakti. The mango is a mango, whether it's a green mango or whether it is a ripe mango. The quality of the mango is the same. So even when we are neophyte devotees, we are sadhakas, same principle applies. That Vaishnava Sangha will give us the opportunity serve the devotees, which will give us the opportunity to associate even more with the devotees. Prabhupada also uses the point made in this verse to emphasize on the purpose of ISKCON. So he says that transcendental devotional service cannot be complete and cannot be relishable without the association of devotees. We have therefore established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Anyone who's trying to be aloof from this Krishna Consciousness Society and yet engage in Krishna Consciousness is living in a great hallucination, for that is not possible. From this statement by Dhruva Maharaj, it is clear that unless one associated with devotees, the devotional service does not mature. The Lord says, Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hitkarna rasayana. Bhagavatam 3:25. Only in the association of pure devotees can the words of Lord Krishna be fully ported and relishable into the heart and the ear. Okay. So this verse is very, very um, famous in the context, the last two verses in the context of Vaishnava Sangha. And let's move on to verse 12. Tena smarantya atiram priyam mishamartayam ye chan vadasutta suhurd grahavita daraha ye tvajjanabja bhavadya padarvinda Swagandhalubdha hridaye shukrita prasangaha. O Lord, who have a lotus navel, if a person happens to associate with a devotee whose heart always hankers after your lotus feet, seeking always their fragrance, he is never attached to the material body or in a bodily relationship to offspring, friends, home, wealth, and wife, which are very, very dear to materialistic persons. Indeed, he does not care for them. So previously the Lord, so this was more of an interpolated question, but previously it was said that the Lord could say that if you're only asking me from Vaishnava Sangha, you will still suffer from the pains of material existence. To which Dhruv had responded, saying that practicing bhakti in the association of devotees, this fear will be vanquished. Now the Lord may point out that, but with the presence of identity of me and mine, it is difficult to avoid disturbance. So you may be doing Krishna Katha in Vaishnava Sangha, but as long as you have Aham Mameti, then the samsara sagar will grip you. So the previous verse spoke about the trials and tribulations of the material world. This verse speaks about the attraction of the conditioned soul to the material world. So even though one may overcome fear, it is difficult to overcome attachment and pleasure. So previously it was the outside. So previously it was like you're in a prison that is very difficult to get out. This verse is that you're in a palace that you don't want to get out. How will you overcome that attraction? So Dhruva responds to this implicit point by stating that the nature of devotees is that they do not make arrangements for the material body, though it may be considered to be very dear. And they forget as well as those who are present in relationship to the body. This is anuada. Anuada means following the material body, such as friends and sons and family. So he says Sutta Surdra Vitadra, sons and friends and home and wealth and wife. So he first says Sutta. So he first mentions son because attachment to the son is the strongest, also the cause of the greatest suffering. But then he says that those who have taken the association of devotees, they do not care for all this. So there is no fear of the distress and there is no attachment to the so-called pleasure. That is the position of devotees. So then what is it that they want? Bhavatya padarvinda swagandhya. That they are hankering after the swagandhya is the fragrance of padaravinda, the lotus feet of the Lord. in a commentary on this verse, Sridhar Swami, he says that the word tu in the phrase yeto abjanabha indicates that these persons, by fixing themselves in yoga, have given up identification of the body. But the devotees develop this automatically. It becomes their nature without any separate endeavor. And the reason is, Lord Kapila, he says in 325.33, that bhakti, devotional service, dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without separate effort. Just as fire in the stomach digests all that we eat. So bhakti does both. It removes in us the fear of distress. It also removes in us the attraction to happiness. But it does not leave us void of emotions. It's not that the person is simply in Om Shanti Shanti, that I have no fear and I have no attraction. It replaces this fear and this attraction by a strong desire to associate with the devotees and serve the Lord. So there is no void. That place is overfilled with the spiritual desires. So from this verses, it can be understood that the destruction of the fear of samsara and the destruction of the attachment to self-identity, it's simply a side effect of bhakti. The devotees don't really think about it, they don't really seek it per se, but nevertheless they get it. The Prabhupada says that a special advantage in devotional service is that devotees not only enjoys the transcendental pastimes of the Lord by hearing and chanting and glorifying them, but also are not very much attached to the body. Later he says this is the special advantage of being a devotee. This status of life is possible only when a person is interested in associating with a pure devotee, who always enjoys the fragrance of the lotus feet of the Lord. And these realizations of Dhruva are also talking about the potency of Vaishnava Sangha. Because who has Dhruva associated with so far? He was alone in the forest for the last 6 months. He had a few moments of association with Narada. But his heart is already overflowing with that. And the realization that he has gotten by the mercy of the Lord is validating what he is feeling. Okay. Verse 30. Tiryannagvija sarisprapadeva daitya martyadvi parichitam sadasad vishesham rupam stavastam majati mahadadyanekam nata param param vedmi nayatravada. My dear Lord, O Supreme Unborn, I know that the different varieties of living entities, such as animals, trees, birds, reptiles, demigods, and human beings, are spread throughout the universe, which is caused by the total material energy. And I know that they are sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifested. But I have never experienced the supreme form I behold as I see you now. Now, all kinds of methods of theorizing have come to an end. So Dhruva says this in response to a Lord's implicit question that, my dear Dhruva, if you're aware of the highest purpose of life and the true nature of material world, then why are you aspiring for a kingdom higher than Brahma? So Dhruva is saying that when he had that aspiration, it was predicated on only what was evident to him at that time. Right? So he says Tiryan. Tiryan literally means horizontal. It points to animals because their food travels horizontally. Once they eat it, it travels horizontally. And then he says Tiryan and then Naga. Naga is those that are anchored, those who do not move. So these are the trees. Trees are also, they get their nutrition vertically from the feet. Then he says Dvija. Dvija is twice born. So this points to those that are born from the egg. So one birth is by the egg and the second is when the egg hatches. And then Sarishrapa. These are those creatures that move on their belly. So these are snakes. Then Deva, demigods, Daitya, these are asuras. Martyadubi. Martyadubi are humans. So these are all varieties of species existing in various planets. Sadasad, Vishesham. Sad means that they are sometimes manifest, and Asad means that they are sometimes not manifest. So Dhruva is saying that I know that this material world with all its variegations of gross and subtle sadasad is spread out. Parishitam. It's spread out amongst all these different kind of creatures, animals, trees, snakes, etc. Then he says that I also know that the total universal form whose causes are the elements like the Mahatattva. So he's saying that I know about the material world, its expanse and its creation. But I did not know your form of consciousness and bliss, which is supreme. He says Param, which is beyond the universal form. He said, I knew the universal form, but I did not know your personal form. I also did not know your form as Brahman, in which there is no sound. Because Dhruva says, I am a child, I am ignorant, I only thought of insignificant things. Now, by the touch of your conch, I have understood the meaning of the Vedas. Therefore, I know the true purpose of life. And now I am offering myself only to your lotus feet. So this verse is essentially talking about the journey of spiritual development of Dhruva. Now, both the actions are in the present tense. So Dhruva says, I know the material world and I'm offering myself to your lotus feet. And Vishwanath Chakravarti says that actually the way to read it is that Dhruva is saying, I knew all about the material world, but now I know you. So Dhruva is using the present tense, even though he's speaking about the past because of its close proximity to the present. So it's just a few months ago when he was in this situation. And he's also speaking out of. So many times we say that Dhruva is in the category of artha, that he wanted wealth, and he got Lord Vishnu. So that statement is correct and incorrect. His spiritual journey started with material desires, but nobody can get Krishna with material desires. We see that at this stage, there is no material desires. Prem Kishore Prabhu, you might want to mute Varshana. I think she has the mic on and she's forgotten about it. Thank you. So yes, Dhruv was a materialistic devotee to begin with. But this much should be understood clearly, that he became a perfect devotee. So the verses that he's speaking, where he's rejecting different entrapments of material existence, cannot be spoken by a Kama Mishra Bhakta. When we say that Dhruv is in the category of Kama Mishra Bhakta, what we mean is that he started off as a Kama Mishra Bhakta, but he ended as a Ananya Bhakta. Prabhupada says that the fact is that unless one engages in devotional service of the Lord, it is impossible to understand the ultimate form of the Lord. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Vaibhava SB, 1855. So Dhruva here compares his previous state of understanding with the perfection of understanding in the presence of the Supreme Lord. And so Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing on this point that Dhruva is comparing his previous understanding with his present comprehension. Okay, moving on to verse 14. Kalpanta etad akhilam jatharena grahanam shete puman svadrag ananta shakastadanke yanna visindhu ruha kanchan lokapadna garbe dyuman bhagvate pranatosmitasmai. My dear Lord, at the end of each millennium, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, dissolves everything manifested within the universe into his own belly. He lies down on the lap of Sheshanak. From his navel sprouts a golden lotus flower on a stem. And on the lotus flower, Lord Brahma is created. I can understand that you are the same Supreme Godhead. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So previous verse, Dhruva had accepted that he did not know the form of the Lord previously. So the Lord asked him that, do you know my form now? Dhruva said, yes, now I know your form. And then he describes the form in 3 verses, 14, 15, and 16. So the form that he is describing in this verse is that of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So at the end of the day of Brahma's day is Kalpa, so Kalpanta. At the end of the day, Etad Akhilam, that accepting the entire creation, Jatharena Grahana, within his own belly, the Lord lies on Anantashesh. Then Swadraka. Swadrak means that the Lord sees himself. So which is another way of saying that the Lord enters into Yoga Nidhi. Then arising from his navel is the lotus flower with Lord Brahma situated on top. So Dhruva is summarizing over here. Of course, between these 2 points is the night of Brahma. So it's not that the Lord lies and immediately the lotus flower appears. So he's summarizing here, but he's essentially talking about the process of the annihilation of the universe and the subsequent creation of the universe. So Dhruva was seeing the Lord in the heart, right? Kshodaksha Vishnu, who then manifested before him. In verse 7, he had described Karnodaksha Vishnu when he had said that you are the source of the Mahata, you are the source of the material creation, right? So that time he was speaking about Mahavishnu or Karnodaksha Vishnu. In this verse, he's describing Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So essentially he is describing he has described the three Purusha avatars. In the Vedas it is said, Yasmin Vigyate Sarvam Evam Vigyatam Bhavati. That knowledge received through the transcendental, causeless mercy of the Lord is so perfect that by that knowledge, the devotee becomes acquainted with all the different manifestations of the Lord. So we see Dhruva displaying that symptom, that because of the knowledge bestowed by the Lord, he is speaking about things that he was previously neither taught nor he was aware of. He spoke about Karnodaksha Vishnu, he spoke about Shredaksha Vishnu, now he's speaking about Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And on the other hand, those who are not devotees, they cannot understand any of this, even if it is told to them. They will reject it and doubt it. So, glorifying the Lord as the source of the Purusha avatars, Dhruva says, Bhagavate pranato asmi tasmai. I therefore offer my obeisances unto him. So the underlying mood of Dhruva is that by the mercy of the Lord, I can understand the Purusha, but I am not capable of serving him because of my shortcomings. So what do you do if you're not able to serve somebody? You simply offer obeisances. Obeisances is a sign of surrender. That I cannot adequately serve you because I am not qualified, but I can definitely give you my obeisances. That much I can. So that is the mood that Dhruva is displaying over here. Verse 15. Tvam nityamukta parisudh vibuddhatma kutastha adi purusho bhagavam strayadishaha yad buddhyavasthitam akhanditatya swadrishtya drasta sthite adimakho vyatirikta se. My Lord, by your unbroken transcendental glance, you are the supreme witness of all stages of intellectual activities. You are eternally liberated. Your existence is situated in pure goodness, and you are existent in the super soul without change. You are the original personality of Godhead, full with 6 opulences, and you're eternally the master of the 3 modes of material nature. Thus, you are always different from the ordinary living entity. As Lord Vishnu, you maintain all the affairs of the entire universe, and yet you stand aloof and are the enjoyer of the results of the sacrifice. So, previous verses, Dhruva was speaking about the Lord as Vishnu Tattva. In this verse, he contrasts the Vishnu Tattva with the Jiva Tattva in order to show the unique position of the Lord. So when Dhruva was speaking about the Yoga Nidra of the Lord may ask that you're saying that I go to sleep and the Jivas also go to sleep. So how am I different if both of us are going to sleep? So Dhruva had said, he had qualified it with Swadrak, which means that your sleep is self-aware. It is Yoga Nidra. Now, Dhruv gives 12 more characteristics that make the Lord distinct from the Jiva. So he says Vitirikta. Vitirikta means that makes the Lord unique. So you don't have to note it. I'll send it as a table to Prem Kishore Prabhu. So the 12 characteristics that he speaks about in this verse are as follows. So he says, Nityamukta. So the Lord is eternally liberated. The conditioned soul is liberated only by the Lord's mercy. Then he says, Parishuddha. The Lord is completely pure and the conditioned soul is contaminated. So he's talking about the conditioned soul. Now, some of these differences are eternal. So even when the soul becomes perfected, the difference remains. Then Vibuddha. Vibuddha is that the Lord is omniscient. Vedaham samitattani. The jiva is never omniscient, whether conditioned or liberated. Then Atma. So Atma points to the self, and the Lord is the supreme soul. The jiva, on the other hand, has a soul covered by a gross and material body. So for the jiva, the Atma is either the gross or the subtle body, or a combination of the two. Then the Lord is Kutastha. He is changeless. The conditioned jiva takes many forms. The Lord is Adi Purusha. So he is the original personality and the cause, right? Janmadhiyasyata. The jiva is caused. He is never the cause. Then the Lord is Bhagwals. Bhagwals means that he is full of 6 opulences. The jiva is with limited opulences, or actually without good qualities. Then the Lord is Triyadhisha. So Triyadhisha, Srila Prabhupada translates as the master of the 3 modes. And in contrast, the jiva is Deva Maya. Deva Maya is that he's controlled by the divine energy of the Lord. So Triyadhisha also means the master of the 3s. So the Lord is glorified as the master of the 3s, the 3. So he is the master of the 3 modes of material nature. He is the master of the 3 Purushas. He is the master of the 3 pairs of opulences. He is the master of the 3 kinds of energies, Atarangani, Tathast, and Vairangani. And he is the master of the 3 levels of realizations, the Sat, Chit, and Anand, or the 3 levels of existence, Sat, Chit, and Anand. The jiva, on the other hand, is always a slave to this. He is never a master. The 9th difference is that the Lord is Buddhi Avastitam. Buddhi Avastitam means that he is fixed in his intelligence, unbroken. The intelligence of the conditioned jiva is subject to waking, sleeping, and dreaming. 10th is the Lord is Akhtitya Swadrashtya Drasho, that he is the constant seer through the Chit Shakti. Another way of saying that he is omniscient, he is seeing everything. The jiva is not. His vision is disrupted because of his inherent limitations, such as when he's waking, he sees a little bit more. When he's sleeping, he's not seeing. When he's dreaming, then he's seeing something that is not real. The 11th difference in the Lord is Sthita, that he is situated in the action of maintaining the universe. He is Nitya Nityanams Chetanas Chetnanam. The jiva cannot even maintain himself. He has to be dependent on something, someone, and ultimately the Lord. The 12th difference is that the Lord is Adimako, which is the enjoyer of sacrifices. The jiva, on the other hand, is dependent on this sacrifice. So the conclusion of Driva is that you are different from the jiva, and your initial objections, my dear Lord, when you're saying that I'm sleeping and the jiva is sleeping, so what is the difference? But for you, all your activities, even sleeping, are part of your chitta shakti. So when a jiva sleeps, he falls into ignorance. But in your case, when you sleep, because it is affected by your chitta shakti, it does not affect your awareness. Your omniscience is completely maintained. Okay, so let me pause over here and see if there are any comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, just one comment about text 13, where, after the realization, Dhruv said that, he's not theorizing anymore. Because okay, especially me, we think it's like that, we think it's like this. We have never seen the Lord face to face. We're still in our mental speculation, but I've never thought about this way. Like the end will happen one day of your rising.
That is true. That would be a so I think we hope and pray that the moment comes in our life sooner than later, but it is difficult to conceive how we will react to it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your realizations, Prabhu. Okay. If there are no more comments, I'll move on to verse 16. Yasmin virudgatayo ayanishman patanti vidyadayo vivida shakatyanupurvaya tad brahma vishvabharvam ekam anantamadayam anandamatram avikaramaham prapadye. My dear Lord, in your impersonal manifestation of Brahman, there are always two opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance. Your multi-energies are continually manifest. But the impersonal Brahman, which is undivided, original, changeless, unlimited, and blissful, is the cause of the material manifestation. Because you are the same impersonal Brahman, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So we see that that Dhruva is glorifying and offering prayers to various aspects of the existence of the Lord. So in the previous verses, he acknowledged and rendered prayers to the three Purushottams. Now he is describing the impersonal Brahman. So he ascribes the following qualities to the Brahman. Because the impersonal Brahman realization is a partial understanding of the absolute truth and the immediate cause of the material manifestation, Dhruva is offering his respectful obeisances. So not because he is particularly attracted to it, but acknowledging the fact that it is intimately connected with the Lord, that it's the energy of the Lord, acknowledging the fact that it is the source of the material world. He is offering obeisances to it. So he gives 9 qualities of the Brahman. He says anishampatitanti, that it is always manifest, means that it is eternal. Then vivida shaktaya, successively various energies. Then Vidyadaya, that it is contrary natures such as knowledge and ignorance. Then Vishwabhavam, cause of the material manifestation. Ekam, only one. Anantam, unlimited. Adyam, original. Anandamatram, blissful. And Avikaram, changeless. So we'll notice that Dhruva's description of the Brahman is a little different from the conventional description, which is considered to be lacking bliss. Right? So here he's saying Anandamatram. Generally we say that in the Brahman there is no happiness. And then we say that the Brahman is full of knowledge. He is saying Vidyadya. It is both full of knowledge and bliss. Then it is said that the Brahman is undifferentiated and homogeneous. He is saying Vividha Shaktya, that successively various kinds of energy. It's a confluence of energy. So how do we reconcile this difference? So the way to reconcile this is by taking the more general view that the description of Brahman in this context includes all the aspects of the Lord's existence, which is Brahman, Paramatma, as well as Bhagwan. So Brahman in a one way is considered to be the effulgence of the Lord, but Brahman also means that which is transcendental. And in that context, it refers to all the three forms of that Lord. Now, if we apply that definition of Brahman, then we can say that the Lord has many simultaneously existing energies. Right? We already know. He has energies for bewildering and energies for liberating. He has energies for bringing close and separating. So, for example, from the Lord emanates the sun, which is hot and burning, and from the Lord comes the moon, which is cooling. So, in this way, many energies are simultaneously emanating from the Lord, but he always stays complete. So, Om Purnamadi. From him comes the illusory Maya Shakti, the marginal Jiva Shakti, and the internal spiritual energy. Now, these energies are contrary in nature. So, they are contrary because they manifest knowledge and ignorance, creation and destruction, being born and being liberated, being inactive and being full of pastimes, being neutral and being partial. And we could expand, but all of you are aware of how the Lord is all these at the same time. So for those who have a small amount of bhakti through Bhakti Mishra Gyan, who cannot realize the variety of the qualities of the Lord appears first as Atma possessing Vidya Shakti. So Dhruva says that initially, and this is also the progression in the Bhagavad Gita, the initial realization of a transcendently progressive soul is the knowledge of the self. Who am I? Right? I'm not the body, soul. That's the initial result of contact with bhakti. Then for those who have a little bit more bhakti, then the Lord appears as the Purusha. He appears as the source of the universe, possessing Maya Shakti, by which he creates and controls the universe. And then for those who have complete bhakti, the Lord appears as Bhagwan, possessing unlimited Shakti, having all powers and sweetness, having unlimited pastimes. The Lord for them is an ocean of grace and surprise and arts and beauty and pastimes. So when Dhruva is describing the three aspects of the Lord, he is describing the three levels of the realization of devotees and how does the Lord appear to be. Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur saying that Vishwanath Chakravarti gives this example that Prabhupada was very fond of. He quotes it at different places to talk about the difference between Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan from the perspective of there are people in a railway station and then from a distant place they are people who are traveling, maybe on a railway, but people who are traveling towards a destination. Then from a distant place, they see the city, which is basically essentially just a blob. So all they say is there is that city. When they come near, they see domes and flags. But as soon as he enters the city, he sees the gardens and the lakes and the marketplaces, shops. He sees the people there. So in this way, Vishwanath Chakravarti explains the different level of realizations. So Dhruva is making the point that in all the situations, the Lord is the same, Brahman. One of the meaning of Brahman also is that which does not change. So regardless of how the devotees are perceiving the Lord is the same. The only difference is the maturity of the realizations of the observer. So Dhruva is thus displaying his mature understanding of the various aspects of the Lord by describing the relationship of the Lord with the material world. Previously, he had spoken about how the Lord is the master of the modes. So that is the Lord's relationship with the materialistic persons. And now he is describing the Lord's relationship with different grades of transcendentalists. Okay, verse 17. Satya Shisho hi Bhagavam Stavapad Padmam Ashi Tatha Anubhajatah Purushat Murte Apyevam Arya Bhagavan Paripati Dina Vashreva Vatsakam Anugraha Katarosma. My Lord, O Supreme Lord, you are the supreme personified form of all benediction. Therefore, for one who abides in your devotional service with no desire, worshipping your lotus feet is better than becoming king and lording it over a kingdom. That is the benediction of worshipping your lotus feet. To ignorant devotees like me, you are the causelessly merciful maintainer, just like a cow who takes care of the newly born calf by supplying milk and giving it protection from attack. So this verse is an interesting verse because it displays a fear in Dhruva. The fear that Dhruva has that the Lord, out of his kindness, may reciprocate to his original material desires of ruling over a kingdom. So in this last verse of the prayer, he's condemning his own materialistic mentality. And he asks for only the benediction of worshipping your lotus feet. So essentially he's asking for bhakti, keval bhakti. Prabhupada says that Dhruva Maharaj, being cognizant of his desire for material benefit, wanted protection from the Lord so that he might not be misled or deviated from the path of devotional service by material desires. Vishwanath Chakravarti has it's humorous also. He has broken this verse into a conversation. And the conversation goes as follows. The Lord says that, "O young boy, it is true, you know my Swarup. Though now you're without material desires, I will give you the result that you were previously determined to achieve." So Dhruva says, "O Lord, your lotus feet are the highest blessings, Ashish, the supreme result, more than the acquisition of a kingdom." So he says, Ashish is much greater than Ashisha. Ashisha is getting a kingdom. So then the Lord says that, "For whom am I the highest blessings?" And Dhruva says that you are the personification of Purusharthas. He says you are Purushartha Murti. For those who worship you without material desires. So Purushartha does not always mean material desires. In the context, in the context, it also means devotional service. So he's saying that you are the Purushartha, that you are the goal of those who worship without material desires. And the Lord says, "But you worship me with material desires. And now here I am standing in front of you." So Dhruva says, that is because you maintain even wretched persons, Dinan, like me, who worship you with material desires. So the Lord says, how do I give that mercy? And Dhruva says, by giving a little taste of the sweetness of your lotus feet, which is obtained by worshipping you without desires. So the Lord gives a sneak preview. So the Lord would say that, but why would I even do that? And the reason he asks is that if one has material desires, the Lord is saying, why would I give him a taste of bhakti? So Dhruva says, because you are eager to give your mercy. You think that this little boy, right now he's pointing to himself, that this little boy, even though he does not know pure devotion to me, I will still give him a taste of it. You are like a cow that makes the ignorant calf drink milk, even though the calf does not serve the cow, and protects it from predators like wolves. Similarly, you gave me a taste of bhakti, even though I did not deserve it, and protected me from the obstacles of bhakti in the form of material desires. So this is a wonderful verse that talks about the mercy of the Lord. That even if one goes, so this is the philosophical aspect of the pastime, that even if one goes to the Lord with material desires, the Lord will mercifully give the person his bhakti. So Prabhupada summarizes that Dhruva Maharaj knew that he had come to worship the Lord with a motive. Such an adulterated devotee can never see the Supreme Lord. He therefore felt very grateful for the causeless mercy of the Lord. The Lord is so merciful that not only does he fulfill the desires of a devotee who is driven by ignorance and desires for material benefit, he also gives such a devotee all protection, just as a cow gives milk to a newly born calf. So the two things that the cow does, it nourishes the calf by giving milk, and it protects the calf. But the nature of the calf is, because the calf is a calf, it's a child, it has no appreciation of the cow. It's not grateful to the cow. In fact, when the cow tries to give it milk, the calf will kick it away or it will bite it. And the calf might put itself in danger and the cow will run and try to protect it. That's the nature of the association between the Lord and his devotee. So this mood is also in contrast to the nature of reciprocation of the devas to the living entity. The nature of the demigods is that they give very reluctantly, and they give with great precision. That you have given me this, in return for that, this is what I will give you. Not one cent more. In fact, Tulsidas says that if you go to a deva and offer him a bale of fruit, so bale, for those who have seen, is like a big ball. So he says, if you give the Lord a bale, give a demigod a bale fruit, the demigod will offer you a mustard seed, and that also grudgingly. So the example is that Indra, he had been worshipped for so many generations by the Brajavasis. But when they missed only one worship, he became so angry that he wanted to kill them. He wanted to kill their cows. He wanted to destroy everything. In his mind, he was not thinking that these same people, their fathers and grandfathers, have worshipped me for so many years. Only thing he was saying is that how dare they not worship? But when he was inundating Vraj with rain, Indra was very careful that not one drop of rain fell over Mathura, because he was scared of Kamsa. So even though Kamsa never worshipped Indra, even though Kamsa was an enemy of Indra, but because Indra was scared of Kamsa, he did not do anything to upset him. But the Vrajvasis who were devotees of him for so many lifetimes, he had no qualms about destroying them. So that's the nature of the reciprocation by the devas. There's a pastime of two neighbors who were very inimical to one another. And but both of them were great devotees of Lord Shiva. So one day Lord Shiva appeared in front of one of them and said, "I'm pleased by your devotion. What do you want?" So the person became ready to ask. And Lord Shiva said, "But wait a moment, think carefully, because whatever you ask from me, I will give double of that to your neighbor." So the person thought, and he says, "Oh my dear Lord Shiva, please take away one of my eyes." And Lord Shiva did that. He took away one of his eye, and his neighbor became blind. So in contrast, the Lord, he gives what you need, not what you want. Right? So the Lord looks beyond the superficial asks, and he gives what is really beneficial. It's like a child going to the mother and saying, "I'm hungry, give me candy." And the mother says, "I know you're hungry. Here, have some dal roti," because the child needs nourishment. So the mother gives what the child needs, not necessarily what the child wants. So when another example, that when Ravan was performing austerities, then one of the austerities that he was performing was to propitiate Lord Shiva. So at the end of it, he was performing this austerities, and at the end of 1,000 years, he would cut off one of his head. And in this way, he went all the way to 10,000 years. And then Lord Shiva appeared and said, "Just stop it. What is it that you want?" And Raman said, essentially, the Lord gave him Lanka. In contrast to that, Lord Ram gave Lanka to Vibhishan just for offering obeisances to him. When Vibhishan appeared, Lord Ram, he gave obeisances. Lord Ram, he bent down, he picked up some soil from the ground, and he made that a tilak, and he addressed Vibhishan as Lankapati. So at that time, Sugriv objected, saying that you still haven't engaged in battle with the Ravan, so how are you calling him a king? So Lord Ram says that if I win the battle with Ravan, I will make him the king of Lanka. If I lose the battle with Ravan, I will make him king of Ayodhya. But either way, I will make him king. So that is the benediction of the Lord. Therefore, a little bit of service, the Lord gives so much that it is difficult to hold. So Dhruva approached the Lord for a kingdom, and even though he does not want it, we will see that the Lord gives him that and much, much more. So in the Damodar Ashtakam, Satyavrata says, Kripa drishti vrishtayati dinam batano grahane shamam agyan ediyakshi drishya. That, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver me from this ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes. So the mood of the devotee is that the sorrows that he is feeling is not being with the Lord. And that is what they are praying. That's the nature of approaching the Lord. That one must consider oneself to be so fallen that is not even qualified to take the shelter of the Lord. So, and the Lord responds by completely extending his shelter. Okay, so that ends the prayers by Dhruva Maharaj. So now let's see what Maitreya will say. Verse 18. Maitreya vacha atha vistuta evam vai satsankalpe nadhimata Bhrityanurabdho Bhagavan Pratinandeyam Abravir. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidur, when Dhruva Maharaj, who had good intentions in his heart, finished his prayer, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees and servants, congratulated him, speaking as follows. So in 9 verses, we will see the Lord's benedictions to Dhruva. So Dhruva is here described by Maitreya as Sat Sankalpena. That he is one. Sankalp means resolving to do something. Sat Sankalp means resolving to do something pure. So he is saying by Dhruva with pure determination. Dhimata, spiritual intelligence. Right? In Gayatri we say Dhimai. So Dhimata is spiritual intelligence. And Abhistuta. Stuti is worshipping. Abhistuta is worshipping the Lord. So the first two are in the category of Sambandha, and the third is in the category of Abhidaya. That with great determination and spiritual intelligence. This talks about Dhruva understanding his relationship with the Lord. Abhistuta is, of course, worshipping the Lord, which is Abhidaya. Then the Lord is described as Bhagwan. Bhagwan, as we know, is one who is complete in all opulences. Bhagwan also means that one who makes others fortunate. Then Bhritya Anurakta, attracted to his devotees. So when the devotee with this Sambandha and Abhidaya, with Sat Sankalpena Dhimata, worships the Lord, Abhistuta, who is Bhagwan, who is capable of bestowing all opulences, who is Bhritya anurakta, who is attracted to his devotees. What is the result? What is the prayojan? That pratinandya. Pratinandya means, literally it means that congratulated. Contextually it means that such a person is accepted by the Lord with great pleasure. And abravit. Abravit means the Lord spoke, means that the Lord reciprocates. So that is the prayojan. That a person with this understanding, when he worships the Lord, who is kind and infinitely powerful, the result is that the Lord accepts and reciprocates, which is what we will see happening. Verse 19. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Vedam Te Vyavastitam Hridi Rajanya Balaka Tat Prachami Bhadram Te Durapam Api Subrata. The personality of God had said, my dear Dhruva, son of the king, you have executed pious vows, and I also know the desire within your heart. Although your desire is very ambitious and very difficult to fulfill, I shall favor you with its fulfillment. All good fortune unto you. So, the Lord says, Rajanya Balak, O son of a king, Vedahamte, that I know, Vivastitam Hidi, that what is the determination in your heart. Because the Dhruva has not asked for it. So the Lord is saying, I know what is there in your heart. Then, Prachami, that I shall give it to you, Bhadramte, all good fortune. So Bhadramte means that he is giving him real fortune, not just his material desires, but his ultimate good fortune. So Durapam Api. Durapam Api means even though it is very difficult, Suvrata, even for people who have taken pious vows. So in the 8th chapter, Dhruva had asked Narad that what is the best position in the 3 worlds which has not been attained by my forefathers or others. So why is that difficult for the Lord? So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that the word api, in spite of, indicates that the Lord is pointing to the exclusivity of Prema Bhakti that he is planning to bestow on Dhruva, which cannot be achieved by pious vows. Because giving a kingdom to Dhruva that is larger than his forefathers is not difficult for the Lord. Giving bhakti to a devotee, the Lord is very careful because essentially the Lord comes under the control of his devotees. So when the Lord says that it is difficult, then he's not pointing to the material kingdom that he's planning to give. He's actually subtly indicating that I will give you something that is difficult even for me. And that is Prema Bhakti. So the Lord says, oh Prince, your desire for power is natural. That's why the Lord says, Rajanya Balak. You're the son of a king, so you're a Kshatriya, so your desire for power is natural. Therefore, I will fulfill the desire. So Dhruva says, I want bhakti. So Lord says, Bhadramte, that all auspiciousness unto you. Do not worry. Api means in spite of. In spite of this, I will give you prema, which is difficult to. In spite of this means that in spite of your material desires, or in spite of the difficulty of getting prema bhakti, I will give it to you. Srila Prabhupada says that generally the Lord does not award a pure devotee material opulence, even though he may desire it. But Dhruva Maharaj's case was different. The Lord knew that he was such a great devotee that in spite of having material opulence, he would never be deviated from love of God. This example illustrates that a highly qualified devotee can have the facility of material enjoyment and at the same time execute love for God. This, however, was a special case for Dhruva Maharaj. Prabhupada is making the point that it's not necessarily that the Lord takes away your material opulence on your progress to bhakti, even though the Lord says in 10th canto. But Dhruva Maharaj was a special case. That for the devotees who can use the wealth in the service of the Lord, for the devotees who are not bewildered by the wealth, the Lord has no problems of giving unlimited wealth. So we have the case of Dhruva Maharaj, we have Prachetas, we have Prahlad Maharaj, we have Sudama Vipra. They were all given material opulences by the Lord because they were advanced devotees. They did not fall because of the material opulence. On the other hand, from Bali Maharaj, he took away his kingdom. From the Avanti Brahman, he took away his wealth. From Bharat Maharaj, he took away the human form of life. But in all cases, the Lord does whatever is best for the devotee. Okay, so I'll pause over here and we have a few minutes till the time for the class ends. And if there's any questions or discussions or comments, we can take them.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just one comment about some of the words that we always think that the Brahman is some place that we should not even think about, but Dhruva here is praising in a way. And since the Lord has created this material world, we can see sometimes apparently there are right and wrong, but he has designed it this way with purpose. That means it's not right. It's right. For him, it's right the way he designed it. But for us, there are don't and do's. This is what I'm thinking, and if you okay with this thinking.
Thank you, Prabhu. That is true, because it's kind of like the example of a king designing a city and then creating a prison house over there, not with the intention that he's hoping that people commit crimes, but understanding that there will be some people who will be of that nature. So that's why the law of karma is created. That's why there is the reactions. All this has been created by the Lord, but he never forces us to act according to it. Right? That's completely up to us. So there are, like it is said, that even when a person is committing sinful activities, the Paramatma is cooperating with him. Doesn't mean the Paramatma is motivating him to do sinful activities, but Padastanu Mantasya Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara, right? He is still the overseer, he is still permitting it. Without the Paramatma's permission, the Jiva cannot do anything, which is the Lord's way of giving us a free will. Right? If the Super Soul only allowed us to do pious activities and impious, not the impious activities, then our free will would be curtailed significantly. Right? So as you mentioned, that the good and the bad activities are performed by the Jiva. What happens as a result of it, that is mandated by the Lord.
But it's not a flow. It's by design like that.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are no more points. We can stop over here. Vanchakalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank you, Prabhu.